Now, Hangouts on Air says we can go 8 hours, and I think we should not come close to that. I think we should go beyond 8 hours. What do you think?
Absolutely. Sounds good.
Welcome to Killing Time, the show that never ends or will be something like 10 minutes today. I am the man who's known as Ayaz Akhtar, otherwise known as the man who takes no blame, the man who doesn't know how to tell time. And with me, as always, is the fabulous and not redundant at all, Just Bob.
Hello.
I mean, not redundant, because then why would you be here?
That's true. Well, maybe I just repeat everything you say. I could be redundant that way.
You could be redundant that way. Wait, now I'm repeating. Damn it. Okay.
Yeah. Damn it. Okay. Fine. Moving on.
Yes. Let's move on.
What are we talking about today?
There's only one thing we can't talk about today. It's Spider-Man Homecoming. Let's do what we normally do. We're going to review the movie without spoilers. And then in a little bit after our nice non-spoiler review, we'll have a spoiler section. So if you don't want to know what happens in the movie, we won't give any of that stuff away for a little bit, and we'll let you know definitely. So don't think that we're going to just cram one in there by accident. Well, not by accident, but on purpose. If you do it by accident, I apologize in advance. Sound good?
Yes. Yes, we'll do our best.
Okay, so what did you think of the movie?
Well, first of all, disclaimer, like I've given in the past, anybody who's been a long-time viewer knows that Spider-Man is my favorite superhero, so I tend to like absolutely anything Spider-Man. Now, I tried to go into this with an open mind, and I got to say, I really liked it. I thought the acting was superb. I thought Michael Keaton was awesome. I am so happy his career's had a resurgence. I couldn't help thinking of that the whole movie. Even some of the younger actors, Tom Holland, Zendaya, they were really good. And just in general, I thought the movie had a lot of heart, like we've always talked about, is good for superhero movies. It was kind of fun, and the characters were kind of relatable. Even the villains, you kind of understood kind of where they were coming from.
Yeah, so, I mean, if you've seen any of the other Spider-Man movies, the thing that might set this one apart, and this I don't believe spoils anything because I think you get the feel of this, there's a lack of angst in this movie. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Lack of angst. Absolutely. I mean, he seems like a normal 15-year-old kid who happens to come into this amazing world and is trying to make the most of it, kind of thing.
Yeah, the tone that you see Spider-Man exhibit in Civil War and in any of the trailers, that's not like a bait and switch, like, oh no, now we're going to get, oh, sad cry Peter Parker thing. But it's a really, I think, well-done movie. It's a bit on the small side, even though it has a fantastic ending like all the Marvel movies have, the big endings and things. Right. So they did a really good job of staying on the ground in this movie, which is unlike some of the other movies we've seen. And so I was quite impressed with it. I know people are saying that Spider-Man 2 is still the best Spider-Man movie, but that's quite possible. I haven't watched Spider-Man 2 in the past couple of years, so I couldn't say that. But Spider-Man Homecoming was exactly what Sony needed. It's exactly what Marvel needed this movie to be. It doesn't, here's the weird thing, it doesn't blow away every other Marvel movie by any means. But it's really, really, really good.
It's also, it's unlike the other Marvel movies. Like you said, it's a smaller scale. The villains aren't as big, and like I said, it's more relatable, but they did a good job making it just a good movie. I mean, just a good, story, beginning to end, while still trying to fit it into the Marvel universe.
Yeah, and there's a lot of great explanations of, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, at least the story is that Peter Parker and Spider-Man has always been in their universe. We just never seen him until Civil War. We haven't seen him until his actual movie, and I guess on YouTube. And they actually do a good job explaining that in this movie. There's a lot of service done to say, how does this guy exist in this universe? How come we haven't seen him before? What's going on with this character? Because you think he's so larger than life that he would be showing up at least in a background clipping, like a Captain America thing or a Iron Man movie or whatever. But I think they wove that together pretty well.
I agree. Definitely. What did you think of, I know you're a big fan of Michael Keaton. How did you think he did?
I thought Michael Keaton was excellent in this movie. Like you were saying, pretty much, I can't really think of an actor that was bad at their job in this. Just every actor, I thought, an actor, I'm using gender neutral, by the way. I'm not saying the actors and actors as well. Yeah. Everyone did great in this movie. It was really good casting, and the direction was really good, and there was not like, here's something we might spoil a little bit about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which has been out for a while, actually home video now. There's like one particular character who's way over the top, and the rest of them are really, really grounded. And when sometimes you have this over the top character, they can kind of take you out of the movie. I don't think any of the characters or acting in this movie takes you out of it, even though there's a lot of wink, wink, nudge, nudge stuff to the audience. They don't directly break the fourth wall.
Right.
So yeah, I definitely had a good time with the movie.
I think
there's so much I want to talk about.
Good for non-spoilers. Yeah, good for non-spoilers. So, definitely see this movie, and it was good on the big screen too. See it.
Yeah. Spoilers coming up. There we go. I wrote it on a piece of paper.
Awesome.
Exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, okay, this film, I couldn't get over how good Tom Holland was as Spider-Man. Yes. Because he's so not ready to be Spider-Man, although he is at the same time. He's constantly amused and amazed by what's going on, and it doesn't get grating. Like, oh, come on, kid, don't you get it? Because as he learns, and you get that because it takes some time to get used to that. And they gave us a great arc with the idea of the suit having the training wheels protocol, making him unable to access all of his abilities. So if you haven't seen the movie, I don't know why you're listening to us. You should be watching the movie. But in the film Spider-Man: Homecoming, it's revealed that the suit given to Peter by Tony has the training wheels protocol, which essentially does not give Peter Parker the full access to the battery of abilities that the suit can do. They find a way to disable it, and then things really change in the film. So I thought that was another great way to go. This is also why Spider-Man was not available for other things, because his suit, even though he just got it, still can't do some of the crazier stuff he can do.
Right. I liked the way the movie began with the little home movie of him doing the whole Civil War thing. Wow, I thought that was an amazing way to begin it. And just, it instantly made you into the movie, fun, knew exactly where you were in the timeline and everything. That was really good. I thought Marissa Tomei was great as the mom, and the ending was awesome. Mm-hmm. I would have liked it even better. I know it's a family movie, but she's really good at dropping the F-bomb if you ever saw My Cousin Vinny. So I would have loved her, but that was good. That was excellent. Even I liked the minimal use of Tony Stark. They had him in it when they needed him, but it wasn't Tony Stark. So he was just there to help add to the character of Spider-Man. Yeah,
that was something I was really scared of when I saw the trailers. There was a lot of, or at least the promotional material. There's a lot of Tony Stark in the movie poster, and there's a lot of, you see Downey Jr.'s face on everything, and it's like, oh no, is this Spider-Man and Iron Man? Is that what I'm watching? And I think the promotional material on that case, they kind of bait and switch kind of thing going on here. Unless they just want to be like, look, we know that you know that Spider-Man hasn't seen these other guys in his world. So we will show you in the poster that this guy is connected to this guy. So that way there's no question. But yeah, Iron Man and his usage, and I use Iron Man differently than Tony Stark because you have the suits working independently. Yeah. I thought their usage was useful to the plot, helpful to move the story along, but it wasn't unwelcome. It was totally I would say almost minimum amount of Tony Stark you needed to get this thing connected properly. Yep, I agree. I thought it was very well done. What did you think of? I wish Donald Glover had a bigger part because I love him so much as an actor, and maybe in the future he might, because the character he's playing. But I wish he had a bigger role because he's such a good actor. I thought that in the kind of way we saw Civil War, we have a bunch of characters being introduced. Spider-Man: Homecoming had such a large task to introduce. Okay, here's Queens. We're gonna just stick to Queens here. And we're going to have a storyline based around this construction worker or running a construction company. That's a vulture, or becomes a vulture. And he's going to lose his job. And he's going to have to figure out a way to make a living. That's his story. Spider-Man is trying to figure out how to be Spider-Man. And we've got underneath the vulture other characters. Now there's technically a lot of villains in this movie. But they're not. It didn't feel overdone. I mean, they introduced 2 Shockers. They introduced Scorpion, kind of teased Scorpion, introduced Tinkerer, and then Donald Glover's playing the uncle of Miles Morales, who's going to be a future Superman and Spider-Man. Right. But Donald Glover is playing the Prowler. So that's a whole. So I think that he could have had more of a role, but it looks like in this movie, they set up a little bit more Vulture and Shocker. So you could have the mid-level game boss and the final boss. And I think that's what you had to do. You couldn't have all of these guys, because then if you start seeing them all mid-level, you might be like, well, why is this guy more dangerous to Parker than not? So, and the Prowler, again, if just by the name, if you don't know anything about Spider-Man comics or anything, just the name alone should give you a nice indication. This is as low level as you get.
Yes.
The Prowler.
Yes.
So I thought Donald Glover was really good in the film. I thought he was minimally used. I think he definitely could have more scenes, but I don't think
he was used well. He was used well.
I don't think that movie had a lot of fat on it. It's not like, or had a lot of room for like, oh, should cut this out for more of this. It's like, it's pretty tight.
It's a tight movie. It was just over, what was it, 210, something like that? Felt like just over 2 hours. You know, didn't feel long. It didn't really drag. My favorite scene, probably acting-wise, was Michael Keaton and Tom Holland in the car when he's driving him to, when you get the big reveal, huge spoiler that the Vulture is Peter's crush's father, pretty much.
Did you see that coming? Because I didn't.
I didn't see it coming. And I was like, literally the door opened, he pops out, like, oh, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, so in the film, Parker is going ahead with his high school life. He's got a crush named Liz Allen. He's asked her out to homecoming, and he's going to go to her house to pick her up for the date. And who answers the door but the Vulture? And at this point, Parker knows who he is, and he just goes from a happy kid to just freaked. And he doesn't hide it well at all. Yeah. He looks terrified. No. Then, in the course of the car ride over, this is freaking brilliant, that they actually have smart villains. I love smart characters at all, but smart villains isn't
and it feels organic. The girl Liz hints, and you see, and Michael Keaton's so good with facial expressions, you can see him putting it together in his head while he's driving and looking in the rearview mirror, and you're like, wow, this is great.
And then he realizes the voice is familiar, and then he's got it down. So then he sends out Liz for the dad talk, which is really smart cover, and then basically explains how the Vulture will kill Spider-Man next time he gets a chance, basically.
And his family.
And everyone you love, and it's menacing as hell. Now, I saw the film twice. I saw that scene uninterrupted once, because the second time, my son wanted to ask me a question totally unrelated to the movie during that scene. And I was just like,
really? Now? No?
Well, I guess he didn't get that scene as powerful. Right. It was not as powerful to him.
Right. He's a kid. He's looking at he's looking for the action scenes and things like that. He's not seeing the,
Yeah. So, at 7, he didn't quite get it. I mean, he liked the movie, by the way. If you're wondering what a 7-year-old likes the movie, he really liked the movie. There's a lot of action in this film. And there's so much comedy in this. There's so much laughing in this film.
His friend, Ned, is awesome. Just perfect. Just his excitement and asking him the questions is hilarious. And they're nerds, which is okay,
I really liked the fact that the children look like children and the adults look like adults and separated like that. Not like if you watch the... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think the actors they hired actually are teenagers or very, very close, and then the adults are actual adults.
Yeah, so you have these age gaps, and you have this feel of, this is a kid, and he's out of his element. Let's talk about a big, giant scene in this film where Vulture buries Spider-Man. And at this point, Spider-Man no longer has his Tony Stark built suit.
Yes.
What did you think of that scene?
Well, that scene's almost frame for frame right out of one of the comic books. One of the first ones I ever read. When he's lifting up I thought it was great. And then I really liked Tom Holland, the way he did it, him literally just almost giving up. And then, that's where, the Tony Stark mentor thing came in. You started hearing his voice and, kind of got it together. And that's such a core to the Spider-Man character, is that a lot of his strength and, fighting and everything is really very emotional, because sometimes he'll be like the strongest character and sometimes he seems like he's not as strong as other times. But when he has to, he really can pull it together, kind of thing.
When he's buried underneath this giant building, essentially, and he kind of wakes up and then starts kind of screaming out for help and this panicked voice and just the terror in the voice reminds you this is a 15-year-old who could be killed. Now, granted, it's a Marvel movie. Heroes usually don't die, but there's a real panic. And there's that great scene where he's looking down at the reflection and you've got half his Spider-Man mask and half his regular face.
That was a great shot.
It's like, okay, we've seen that in comic books a million times. I can't remember ever seeing that in any movie.
That was awesome.
And I was like, okay, this is really great. And then he pumps himself up by saying, come on, Spider-Man, after he has the Tony Stark like memory pep talk, essentially. And it's so good that this character had to go and do this on his own. There's at this point, Tony Stark has taken away all his tech. It's just Parker in his old suit, and he's going for it. And I really like the fact that they were going to do this thing where he's resilient, he's selfless. Basically, one of the reasons why I like Captain America so much, same kind of thing. Like, if you take everything away from this guy, he's still something at the core. Yep. And if you watch some of these other films, Spider-Man films, you're like, okay, we have that, but we have a lot of, again, angst. And we didn't have that in this film. We had so much upbeat comedy. We had a lot of inventive ways for Spider-Man to be Spider-Man. And I think my favorite comedic bit might be being stuck in the suburbs and trying to flip into nothing.
Yes.
Resulting in the Ferris Bueller parody scene. What did you think of that as a John Hughes aficionado?
I thought that was perfect. They even had, for me, I knew exactly what scene it was, but for people who don't know, they even had the movie playing on a screen to try and pull it all together. I didn't need that, but that's okay.
Yes, Parker is deciding he cannot thwip his way through the suburbs. He runs. And as he runs, we're doing the same thing. We're following him. He's going off a trampoline.
And I love when he runs and says, "This sucks." He says, "This sucks."
Yeah, because there's a lot of little comments like that. Like, he's being dragged around by a van. And he goes, "Ow, my butt." It's like, okay, nobody's listening to him. And in his mind as a kid, because that's what you freaking do. You just talk. It doesn't matter. He doesn't ever stop talking. There's also that scene that's been seen in the trailer 1,000 times with the bank robbery, and he's going to break it up. But there's like 10 seconds before he does anything, he's setting himself up. He's like,
but he's just standing there.
But he's like, do I put my hand on my... He was so awkward. Yeah. And then plays it cool. I thought it was just a great entry into the Marvel universe. I'm a little bit scared about the Sony's plans, what they want to do.
You mean with the other stuff? You mean like Venom and things like that?
Yeah, because Tom Hardy's going to be Venom.
Yeah.
But Kevin Feige, of the head of the MCU for Disney, says, no, Spider-Man's not in this movie. Even though the Sony had said, this is what's going to happen. Like 2 weeks after that, Feige was like, no, that's not accurate. So, but the thing is, that could be a bargaining chip now that I think about it, because the deal between Sony and Marvel, where Marvel essentially controls Spider-Man, as in like they help make the movies, but they don't make any of the money. That deal ends after like a couple of years.
Yeah.
So if Sony doesn't totally mess up its Spider-Man franchise while this Marvel Spider-Man's going on, they could revert him back and bring him in, assuming Tom Holland will even work with them. I have no idea, but I thought Tom Holland, he's only 21, and I had no idea how funny he would be in this thing. So he was excellent. It was fun. Ned was fun. Liz was fun. What did you think of the Michelle character, Zendaya? You mean
MJ?
Yeah. So I wanted to find out, is this supposed to be a replacement for Mary Jane? And apparently it's not.
From what I read, it's no. That's just, they said that's a nod to kind of make you think that maybe in the future they're going to have something. And they probably will be. I mean, she's snarky, and we know that she's much prettier than they let her be in that movie.
She just seems so snarky. Like I get it. You got to have different character types, and that works.
Right. But she wasn't that huge a character. I mean, she wasn't in it that much. It was almost like she came in every once in a while to make a snarky comment and then walked away. Like at the party they went to, where she walks in, and eating like a peanut butter sandwich or something. It says, "Well, you're here," and she goes, "Am I?" and walks away.
And then, and it's so good, high school, awkward. Of like, wait, are we supposed to answer that? Like,
yeah.
My Liz, not Liz Allen, was a little bit upset. She's like, "Why is Flash a brown guy?" And I'm like, I don't know. It's cultural diversity. It's New York City. There's a shot of that. She goes, well, why?
And also I liked that he was a different kind of bully.
He was a modern bully.
A modern bully, because I mean, nowadays, you know, it's not uncool to be the smart kid who is rich and has a lot of, you know, can be a bully now. You know, it doesn't have to be physical. It can all be, you know, mental and calling names and social media and stuff like that.
And Liz was also asking, like, you know, why is he like an alternate in that team? I'm like, wait a second. There's a line in the film that explains that if you're at this high school, you're kind of set for life, because it's like we have this in Brooklyn called Stuyvesant. There's like Bronx School of Science. So if you go there, you got to be smart. So there's a shot that Flash, even though he's dumb for that school, is really smart. So
he's smart enough for any other school. He'd be top of his class, but in this, you know, MIT prep school, pretty much, he's, you know, the alternate.
Yeah, as the alternate, and even the teacher makes fun of him for being too fast. I mean, I've had my share of screwing up in high school. I remember that because I almost failed math for 2 quarters because I wouldn't check my work. I can see going too fast and being arrogant and overconfident causing an issue, which can make you a bully kind of thing, which I was not. To be clear.
And I always like Spider-Man movies to include the fact that he's a borderline genius. That's an important part of his character because he does a lot of the things himself. You know, does the webbing and everything.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool shot also in the trailer. Like, Parker, are you with us? And you know he's not paying attention at all. Closes the laptop lid, looks at the board, and solves it in under a couple seconds, which it didn't sound like it was that terrible, like an equation, since he said those two things cancel out. But still, kept doing that, also making web fluid in class while doing something else. Yeah. Like, there was a lot of that. That's, I think, another part of that Tony Stark, Peter Parker link that's been in the comic books and it's also been in this movie that you see that. And also same thing with Banner and Stark getting along. There's this,
because they're smart. Yeah, they camaraderie. They're both hyper intelligent and interested in these kind of things,
and they gravitate towards each other. It leads to good conversations. And I think that there's supposed to be, how many more movies are left? Speaking of that, what did you think of the Captain America cameos?
I love the one at the end, the very, very end, when you stayed through the credits and he was talking about patience. I thought that was great. I thought they were fun. Yeah, and I like the way they worked in.
I like the first Captain America one with the fitness one. And he's explaining the fitness tests. I remember that in my school growing up, that the presidential fitness test. And so, of course, it's Captain America doing a bunch of these pre-taped things, and he's pointing out the gym teachers at the wrong side of the television. Yeah. And that throwaway line of, I think he's a war criminal now, because this is after Civil War, so like he's no longer wanted. Right. But it's Chris Evans, and he's doing it, and this is like this is the 16th, I believe, Marvel movie. There's supposed to be 6 more to end this whole thing. That's what Kevin Feige said. He goes, the first whole thing is 22 movies, and once that's over, the next Spider-Man film is the beginning of this new story.
The new story after that,
which I'm looking forward to, because this has been a long haul. And I'm not saying in a bad way. It's just been a really long,
And is Spider-Man's going to be part of Infinity War?
Yeah, he's definitely in that.
Okay.
And that's, I believe, is 2018 and 2019. There's part 1 and part 2.
Yeah.
And for those of you who haven't read the book, go read Infinity Gauntlet, because...
Oh, awesome. Awesome story.
The stakes are really high.
Classic.
Extremely high, because it's also... I'm going to spoil part of it if you haven't watched it or read it. I mean, you should have read it by now because it's been out for 25 years.
Yeah.
Thanos kills everybody.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Rampage.
If at any time any of the actors don't want to be a part of the universe,
they can get out.
They can switch the characters. So this is this giant reset moment that they can continue this crazy. This is unprecedented. That's not true. I guess that the Universal monsters had a shared world, and there's some shared universes, but I've never seen anything like this. Maybe James Bond, but even that's not really connected.
It's enormous, and now I read some figure that these movies together have made something like either 15 or 16 billion dollars. It's insane.
So this could be the reset moment. If Chris Evans, who in that joke, how many more of these do we have left? He doesn't have to keep going. He can stop. And the other thing is, Captain America's a mantle that could be changed anyway. So they've done that with Falcon in the past. They've done that with Bucky.
Yeah.
So there could
Same with Iron Man. Iron Man's just a suit. Easy to switch up somebody else into that suit.
Yeah. So I'm intrigued where that's going, and Spider-Man just fits in really well with this, and like I said, street level, kind of Daredevilish in the level of crime that he handles. I mean, I could imagine that, you know, maybe it's, what year is it now? 2017, maybe by 2030 we get Cosmic Spider-Man. But
sure,
let's hold off on that for a while, because we got to figure out this whole Thanos thing coming up.
Yeah, he's the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man,
which was a good gag.
Yep, very good.
Okay, on that note, I think we should get the heck out of here. What do you say?
Absolutely. I think we've blabbed on enough about it. Obviously, we like the movie if you haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah, definitely worth watching. I saw it in 3D and in 2D. 3D version I thought helped a lot, but not necessary. Like, it was a good enhancement.
Right. I thought it was good, but I felt it would have been just as good 2D as well.
Yeah. So watch it while you can, because the merchandise, if you go into a toy store, you're going to get some stuff spoiled just by going into it. You're like, oh, look at that suit. Oh, man. What was that? All right. We're going to get out of here. We'll see everybody next time on Killing Time.
All right. Thank you.